really give Jim, in particular, at this time, space. And I really dislike online right now for other people who are in my various, friendedness and whatever, who are like, eager. They're like, okay, we got one scalp. Now where's the next one?
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know if anyone else sees it this way, but Zak owes a hell of a lot more to Jim than Jim owes to Zak.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I know it's probably not even, if I could speak for Jim, which I shouldn't, I would even think that maybe he has it reversed. And
you mean he thinks that Zak created him?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But I mean, it is, obviously Zak is a major moneymaker for LOFTP, but that is probably going to pale, or could potentially pale, in comparison with the number of people who, prior to the big Zak push there, and potentially afterward, would be happy to. I don't know in terms of dollars and cents. I'm just saying that anybody who knows anything about the history of role-playing and D&D is interested in Lamentations. At the very least, it's interesting. And a lot of people have worked on projects for it.
Yeah.
So, I'm just really saying that he doesn't need fucking Zak. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
But he could criticize me for saying this if he wants. But the point being that maybe it's going to take a while to disentangle from the kind of commitments that they had, the sense of camaraderie that they had, and the sense of success together.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. And I'm not going to, one can dissect his public statement, all you want, line by line. I'm just going to say anybody who expects, one, Jim Raggi to roll over and try and placate the world does not know who they're dealing with. No, that's not the man. He's not going to do it, and I get that. Number one. Number two, anybody who expects somebody who had that kind of commitment and investment and whatever to suddenly revise their thinking whole cloth, it's so unfair.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, when it comes to anybody who was sunk into the situation financially and emotionally that far, you're not going to find me hunting for any scalps.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not going to do the... Why should we be Zak and run around and see who approves of whom how much? And why would we want to adopt that behavior? That's just shitty. So, that's kind of where I'm at on that stuff. And that leads to... So we stop picking scabs of what Zak said on Tuesday. Let's... and go to another thing you brought up, which is what's the way forward in regard to this person and perhaps to each other. I mentioned the distinction between shunning / shaming and exile.
Yeah.
Which really, I hit upon it a bit ago when I was talking to somebody, and I was like, ooh, smart thing. I said a smart thing. I'm going to remember that. Which is that...
I have to write it down.
Yeah.
Just to believe that I said a smart
thing. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I read an old game of mine, read, and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty good. Oh, wait. So, the deal with this, though, shaming and shunning, you got to keep them around for that. You either got to keep the actual person around, and if you can't, then you got to keep the memory. You got to keep the image around. And everybody's got to be attentive to it. And it's sort of an ongoing thing. And you can distinguish yourself from that person. You can say, well, you did this, and I'm not like you. And that's sort of it's very much a keeping you in the fold so we can point at you, but then distinguishing you from us so that we can be better.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Or that we are. Wait, it's not even that we can become better. It's that we already are. So cool.
Yeah.
Right. We already are. We just are. Ha ha. See, look at him. I'm not him. So I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my regional fascination with the United States, probably from looking at the blog. And one of the things that I've talked about in the past is the difference between activism in specific regions. I've always found the desire for shaming and shunning to be very characteristic of New England activism. What Woodard calls Yankeedom activism. That they want people in the stocks. They want people, designated as, less or more virtuous. They want people, tarred or marked or, stuff like that. Whereas the West Coast activism is very anarchistic and is willing to try some shit, make mistakes, and then try something else the next day. And also perfectly happy to be bad. We're going to be bad today. Maybe bad is good. Let's try bad. And so it's kind of there's also a tendency to, that was a bad idea. Really fucked up. Let's not do that part anymore. Let's not do that one anymore. We all fucked up. And so it's kind of maybe I'm idealizing a little bit because that's where I'm from and that's what I kind of empathize with. But certainly one can point to any number of West Coast endeavors that gain no points from anybody. But anyway, so I tend to idealize that mode of activism. And it makes me not do very well in company of very sincere, very committed people. I can name some names. Robert Bull comes to mind. People who really feel strongly about the first form.
Shaming and shunning.
Right. Well, in many ways it is, it's a tried and true tradition here in these United States, after all, right?
Yeah. I went to a Mennonite university, so I bristle and as a Quaker. So very different ethos. And I bristle at the culture of shaming and shunning.
Right.
So I that's one of the reasons I was interested in understanding your distinction.
Well, in that sense, exile, in many ways, is, look, let's not figure out every last little way that you're bad and that we're good. There's sort of there's nuances everywhere, but there is a hard line where you can or cannot be included in what we do. The idea being, therefore, that to exile somebody is not to shame or shun them. It is simply cut them off. Just, we're not paying attention. We're not, whatever. I don't go forth and prosper. I don't give a fuck. You're not influencing what we do. And you might feed anywhere, but you're not going to feed here. To me, that just seems like a much better idea. It also permits the possibility of taking stock and saying what behaviors in that person were some of us or all of us actually facilitating or actually buying into, and now is our chance to look at ourselves and say, hey, how are we going to do without that person around? And not, and so you don't have that person around to virtue signal against. And you have to actually say, all right, clean up, just scrub that, and now let's look and see how are we going to deal with each other. A lot of people are going to have things that they're not going to be proud of, but you know what? We're not exiling you. You're not exiled. You, Bob, and you, Jane, and you, so-and-so. You're not exiled. So regardless of how you played into that, you're still here, reflect, and we trust you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what I'm looking for is, in some post-dictatorial regimes, they have what they call, the legal criminal proceedings and reconciliation hearings. And they basically say, look, we are going to come to a decision, piece by piece, person to person. We're going to decide whether you were a criminal in that prior regime relative to the rest of us, or whether you were just another one of us who was trying to make your way, may have lost your way a little bit, and, now you're struggling here with the rest of us deciding what to do. Yeah. And if that's the case, you know what? Yeah, there's a bunch of people here who are probably going to hate your fucking guts for the rest of your life. We get that. But we're not exiling you. You're not going to be a second-class citizen. You don't have to walk around with a mark on your face. We're done. We finished today. We close the chapter that has your name in it. Wherever we go from there is where we go. And I think that's a good thing. I think that a number of regimes, Franco's in Spain, which did not do that. I think we've seen many instances in which not doing that has had massive repercussions. Whereas in the various regimes where that does occur, a number of ways can be made. A number of again, personal animosities are not going to change, but the general social status of that particular person has been settled. You're either out, goodbye, or, all right, from now on, it's between you and whoever.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what I'd like to see more than anything else. I mean, I do not have a list. I do not have circles and arrows on my wall.
Neither do I.
Yeah. But there are people who, I can see it now. I mean, I think there are people who are drawing circles and arrows and deciding who's going to be, you have this much, here's the whole cup of virtue. You have 1/4 virtue.
Yeah.
Because of where you are in this wall, So you want me to pay attention, you got to build it up. You got to earn your virtue. That means you got to kiss my ass. And I don't get that. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Does that help a little bit in trying to see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have to run out the door in a minute, but I wanted to say thank you so much for your time.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it on your part.
I'd love to do this again sometime if you're open to it.